Adolf Hitler was born on April 20, 1889, in Braunau am Inn, a small town on the border between Austria and Germany. The son of Alois Hitler and Clara Pausel, his early life was marked by a series of personal and familial struggles. His father, a stern and authoritarian figure, clashed frequently with young Adolf, while his mother, more nurturing, provided him with affection and care. Despite his promising early academic years, Hitler struggled in school, particularly in secondary education, and ultimately failed to achieve a high school diploma. After his father's death in 1903, Hitler's life took a different turn. He moved to Vienna with aspirations of becoming an artist but was rejected twice by the prestigious Academy of Fine Arts as he did not complete secondary school. Life became harder with the passing of his mother. Without money and family support, Hitler was forced to live a bohemian life in homeless shelters and earn money by casual labor, paintings, selling postcards, and carrying luggage for rail passengers. These rejections combined with the hardships contributed to his growing sense of alienation and frustration. During his years in Vienna, Hitler developed strong political and anti-Semitic views, influenced by the city's climate of ethnic tensions and nationalism. He developed a deep hatred for Jews, Marxists, and what he perceived as the corrupt liberal establishment of the time. Hitler's time in Vienna shaped much of his later ideology, and he later recalled these years as being formative in his development. In 1913, Hitler moved to Munich, Germany, in search of new opportunities and to escape the turmoil he had faced in Vienna. The outbreak of World War I in 1914 saw Hitler enlist in the Bavarian Reserve Infantry. He served as a soldier on the Western Front, where he experienced the horrors of war, including being wounded twice. Despite being injured in a mustard gas attack, he remained devoted to the German cause. It was during these years that Hitler began to develop a strong sense of national pride and a belief in the superiority of the German people. After the war ended in 1918, Germany was left in a state of political and economic turmoil, with widespread disillusionment and resentment following the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. Hitler, like many Germans, felt betrayed by the terms of the treaty, which he believed unjustly punished Germany and its people. In this period of unrest, Hitler found his political calling. Joining the National Socialist German Workers' Party NSDAP in 1919, he quickly rose through its ranks due to his passionate speeches and strong leadership abilities. His fiery rhetoric, which focused on the need for German nationalism, anti-Semitism, and the rejection of the Treaty of Versailles, resonated with many Germans who felt humiliated by their country's defeat in the war. By the early 1920s, Hitler had become the leader of the NSDAP, and he began to develop his ideas into a coherent political ideology. In 1923, Hitler attempted a coup d'état known as the Beer Hall Putsch in Munich, aiming to overthrow the Weimar government. The coup failed, and Hitler was arrested and sentenced to prison. During his time in prison, Hitler wrote his political manifesto, Mein Kampf, My Struggle, in which he outlined his vision for the future of Germany. The book espoused his beliefs in the superiority of the Aryan race, the need for territorial expansion, and his deep hatred for Jews. Upon his release from prison, Hitler began to rebuild the NSDAP and focus on gaining power through legal means rather than through violence. The political climate in Germany during the late 1920s and early 1930s was volatile, with the country suffering from economic instability, high unemployment, and the effects of the Great Depression. Hitler capitalized on this unrest, using his charismatic oratory skills to appeal to the German people's sense of frustration and fear. He promised to restore Germany's greatness, rebuild the economy, and provide jobs to the unemployed. The Nazi Party's message resonated with many Germans, and by 1932, Hitler had become a dominant figure in German politics. In January 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany by President Paul von Hindenburg. Once in power, Hitler moved swiftly to consolidate his authority. The Reichstag fire in February 1933, which was blamed on communist agitators, provided Hitler with the pretext to push through the Reichstag fire decree, which suspended civil liberties and allowed for the arrest of political opponents. The Enabling Act, passed in March 1933, gave Hitler dictatorial powers, effectively ending the Weimar Republic and establishing a totalitarian regime. With control over the government, Hitler began to implement his radical policies. The Nazis pursued a program of rearmament, aiming to rebuild Germany's military strength and prepare for territorial expansion. The regime also began implementing anti-Semitic laws, including the Nuremberg Laws of 1935, which restricted the rights of Jews and laid the groundwork for the later horrors of the Holocaust. Hitler's aggressive foreign policy sought to overturn the Treaty of Versailles and expand German territory. In 1938, Germany annexed Austria in the Anschluss, and the following year, Hitler demanded the Sudetenland from Czechoslovakia, a region with a significant ethnic German population. His actions in Europe were a precursor to World War II, which began in 1939 when Germany invaded Poland. The war quickly escalated, and Hitler's quest for territorial expansion led to the conquest of much of Europe. By 1941, Germany had invaded the Soviet Union in Operation Barbarossa, and by the end of 1942, it had suffered significant military setbacks. Despite these defeats, Hitler remained in power, refusing to consider any peace negotiations and insisting on the complete domination of Europe. The war's tide turned against Germany as Allied forces gained ground on both the Western and Eastern fronts. Hitler's mental and physical health deteriorated, and his decision-making became increasingly erratic. In the face of inevitable defeat, Hitler remained defiant, retreating to his underground bunker in Berlin, where he continued to issue orders despite the collapse of his regime. As Soviet forces were closing in on Berlin, Hitler married Eva Braun on April 29, 1945 in the bunker, and on April 30, Hitler and his wife committed suicide by Hitler shooting himself and Eva by taking poison in the bunker, ending their life and his reign over Germany. The legacy of Adolf Hitler is one of devastation and destruction. Under his rule, millions of lives were lost, including the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. His aggressive policies led to the deaths of tens of millions during World War II, and his ideology of hatred and intolerance left a lasting stain on history. Hitler's life and actions remain a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power, extreme nationalism, and the destructive potential of bigotry and hate.